Hey everyone, welcome back to a video response. This is to Shock 16's Toys R Memories video. Um, it wasn't necessarily a tag video or anything of the sorts. He just shared his memories and said if you have yours, share them below in the comments or make a video. And since I've seen a few of these go around and I really enjoyed them, largely because I think most of us have the same type of memories, just slightly different specifics, I thought I'd share mine. And really what Toys R Us was for me was this bastion of fun in these very long periods of boredom. And that's because we did not have a Toys R Us in my town until uh, fairly late in, not my late teens, but mid to late teens. By that time, I wasn't into toys, and it was a couple years out of me buying comic figurines, which now you can get really nice models of the X-Men or Spider-Man, whatever. But back then, there weren't. You just had to go get those like Kenner toys. They all had the generic molds, and I would just set them up just to look at them. I had stopped that a few years earlier, so when Toys R Us came to my town, I wasn't too pumped. It was neat to see it because I had liked the store for so long, but it was a much bigger deal when I was younger, and that's because my family loved to go on long vacations. Every summer, we would get in the car and just drive for days and days. We drove from the Gulf of Mexico up to Canada. We drove to Virginia, Washington, D.C., Florida, um, was it Kentucky, the Carolinas, just long, 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 long vacations. So it'd be me and my brother in the back seat, just bored out of our minds. And at the start, my parents would get us, say, like a comic book or a cassette. And so we'd be pumped. I've mentioned this before, but within an hour, we have read all the comics. I was really big into the Wizard price guides for comics. They'd get us one of those. I'd have read that twice. Whatever cassette my brother got, I've listened to it. But there was nothing like going through a city and seeing the Toys R Us sign, especially if that's where we were staying for the night, because that meant there was something to do. But when you're on the interstate and you're 5 hours into a trip and all you've seen are plains, rolling plains or hills, small town after small town, you just think it's never going to end. And on the horizon, you would see Jeffrey peeking out over an exit ramp. And immediately, those hours in the car just vanished. And I knew that, especially if we were going to stay the night in that town, I was getting to go there. Now, very rarely did I actually get toys from Toys R Us. It was really just to go and look. Mostly it'd be my dad to give my mom a break. Even though he did all the driving, the man's a driving machine. He still drives, in 1 week he might drive 500 miles. It's crazy. But he likes driving. I don't know. I can't stand it. I think it's because of all that time in the car as a kid. I do not like being in cars. If I'm in an airplane or a car for more than 20 or 30 minutes, I get fidgety. But back then, that's why seeing the Toys R Us sign meant so much, because it was just this way to like relax. I'm no longer cooped up, sharing a backseat with my brother, pushing him, shoving him, drinking old high C and hot cokes. The ice in the ice chest long melted away, eating kind of soggy ham sandwiches. All that's done. I knew we'd drop our bags off and I'd get to go to Toys R Us, and he would just let me run down the aisle and look at stuff and just touch, check out the back, look at the packaging, mention what I might want for Christmas. My brother wasn't really into toys as much as me. He's a little older, but initially, he would be into it too. And after a while, he would transition. He would just go look off at maybe like their science kits or something. That was the thing. There was so much there. There was something for everyone. I would look at the action figures when I was younger, G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers. As I got older, it'd be X-Men, Spider-Man, any sort of Marvel toys, Doctor Doom. My brother was in the comics too, so he kind of checked those out. Then after a while, he'd migrate to, like I said, the science kid. Well, I would just go up and down the toys, and then I'd switch to the video games, and just they kept everything behind glass cases, and so all the peripherals and machines and stuff, which was neat because I don't think any other store actually took the items out of the boxes for you to see. And then you'd have the little placards that had the tag, which everyone talks about, and you'd see the game, and you would hope that they had the tag for it. Kind of like when you go to a rental store and they'd have the box, and you just hope that there was an actual copy of the movie behind the box. It's such a fake out when you see the placard or the thing and you pull it and there's nothing. Service Merchandise used to do the same thing, where they had these plastic sheets, and each one had an insert of a game box, and you had to pull the tag to go. And if they didn't have it, then you would see, oh, Mortal Kombat 2, no tag, you're out of luck. And yeah, it was just, there was so much to look at, so much to do, and especially after being on the road for so long and not wanting to be on the road, it was guaranteed fun. That and HBO. I loved when the hotel rooms had HBO, because since it was normally a weekend, there'd be Tales from the Crypt, and that was the highlight, was Toys R Us and Tales from the Crypt. And if there was an arcade nearby, my dad might take us to that, depending on how much my mom wanted time by herself. But there was just nothing like seeing a Toys R Us, again, a store specifically for kids. There were toys in all sorts of stores, Kmart, Walmart, but the variety, just wall to wall. Being little and looking up and seeing this massive warehouse structure, and all the way up to the ceiling are toys. And it didn't matter if you didn't really want to play with those toys or you didn't like the toys. It was toys to a kid are just flat out nice. It's just it's interesting. You're into it. It's just toys. That was the thing. You're surrounded by, it's like, I like donuts. It's being surrounded by donuts. I really don't care what kind of donuts there are. If I'm surrounded by donuts, I'm in a good mood. So it was such a treat. And then specifically, some gaming memories in relation to that. I didn't really buy many games from Toys R Us either. That's because Toys R Us was more expensive than everywhere else. But I will start off with Virtual On. Now, this is not the copy I got at Toys R Us. The memory I have of this is, it was my birthday, and I had a bunch of friends from high school over. Now, we had all just kind of became friends that year. I knew two of the guys from middle school, and then there was two who were new friends. So we're all hanging out, and we're all getting along together as a group, and we really wanted something to play. And none of them had a Sega Saturn but me. So I'm looking through the Sunday ad, and I happened to see that they have Virtual On, and it was like $54.99. And now I had seen reviews for Virtual On. We didn't have it in the arcades over here, and I thought it looked like, this is that Sega Blue Skies era, where you have blue skies, white light blue clouds, light blue water. Everything's vibrant. It's bright. All that caught my eye. I've always liked the Virtual On logo too. Very airy. So, and it was also a great way to get everyone involved, because it was 2 players, and only one of us, though, could drive. And I remember trying to talk him into bringing us to Toys R Us so I could buy it with the money I got for my birthday. And we had him. He was going to do it. We got out. I tell my mom, hey, we're going to go pick up a game. She goes, what do you mean you're going to go pick up a game? I said, no, he's going to drive us. Don't worry. He's got his permit or whatever it was. And she goes, oh, no, he's not going anywhere. I talked to his mom before. She said to make sure he comes here and goes home. Oh. So we're going, okay, well, are you sure? I'm pretty sure he can drive. He's basically a pro. He's had his permit for like 2 weeks. We're good. She said, no, go back in your room. So I asked them. My mom's going, I'm not bringing 5 or 6 of you to go get a game. No. You just had your party. You're all hanging out. Go play basketball if you want to go out. I think that's what we ended up doing. So I was just sitting there in the back having to tell them that, no, my mom shot us down and your mom shot us down. We're all screwed. There will be no Virtual On for us. No big loss to them, because they were going to get in. They were going to play it just to kind of play it. But for me, I was massive into the Sega Saturn, and this was one of the key titles for it. So I was going, oh, it's a Saturn exclusive. This is, I can't wait to play it. And it wasn't meant to be. However, what was meant to be was Fighters Megamix. I wanted this game so bad, and nobody had it. I remember calling 1-800-Saturn because there was a Sega Saturn hotline you could call, but what I ended up calling was the Saturn Car Company, and it just said, uh, it was a very generic answering service. So like, hello, what is your question about the Saturn? So I was like, me, who's carrying Fighters Megamix? And the woman's going, what are you talking about? It's like, it came out today. Who's carrying Fighters Megamix? She goes, I don't know what that is. What kind of model car were you looking for? And I was going, what do you mean model car? No, Sega Saturn. She goes, no, this isn't Sega. This is the car company. God damn it. But I ended up having to call all around town, and the only store that stocked it was Toys R Us. And by this point, I am a huge Sega Saturn fan. Like I loved Virtua Fighter 2. I didn't get a chance to play Fighting Vipers yet because no one had it around. But we had a few sources for games in my town. There was 2 Walmarts, a Service Merchandise, Montgomery Wards, and Kmart, and that was it. Right? None of them had Fighters Megamix. I called Toys R Us. The lady says I think they got 2 in. So now keep in mind, every ad for this says Fighters Megamix, $49.99. So I have exactly the amount I need with tax, with like 25 cents extra. Ask my dad, bug him, fine, I'll take you to there. I go there, rush there. She's like, sure, we have 1 left. So I don't know who got the other one, just in that small period of time. So great, give it to me. And she was going, oh, you're really looking forward to this, huh? I'm going, yeah. Oh, no one else has it but you guys. She says, oh, okay. Brings it up, and it's $54.99 plus tax. And I was so deflated. I thought it was $49.99. Well, not here. Over here, it's $54.99. What do you mean it's $54.99? Well, I thought it was $49. Nope. Much like with Virtual On, they raised the price $5 over everyone else just because they could, basically. So I had to go to the car and beg $5 off my dad. He's going, you told me you had the money for this. This is not my fault. They're highway robbers trying to steal the last $5 this poor child has. But great purchase. This was every bit as fun as I wanted it to. I was imagining it to be and wanting it to be, because this was Sega being Sega, where they threw Virtua Fighter 2 characters with the Fighting Vipers characters, but they also threw in Virtua Fighter 3 moves in here so you could practice it before it got its home conversion. Then you had the weird stuff, which was pretty well publicized in magazines, the Daytona car, the Virtua Cop, I think it's Janet, Bean from Sonic Fighters, and just the CG images you can unlock. There's just so many things to go through. There's tournaments based on fighter style, what series they're from. There's completely new characters that I've never seen again. This was a fantastic buy and just so engrossing. It's very Sega, like I said. Another one that I really wanted, that they were the only place that carried it, was Daytona USA Championship Circuit Edition. Now, if you're like me, you love Daytona USA, but the Saturn version had the undeniable performance problems. So when Daytona Circuit USA Championship Circuit Edition was announced, it was a way to make things right. I look forward to this so much because I thought, wow, finally I'm going to get Daytona, but with proper visuals. Oh, it's going to be great, because I was loving Ridge Racer, and I ended up playing that more than Daytona. It's a great game on its own, but I had really expected to play Daytona more. And while I really enjoyed Daytona, I don't know, it was a bummer, the performance. I'd seen pictures of the arcade version, and the reflection on the back windshield looks so amazing. The blue skies, the mountains with like Sonic carved on the side, and then you play the Saturn version, and that whole mountain would pop up in one go. It didn't take away from the gameplay. The gameplay was still solid. That's why I was excited for this, because I thought, okay, if it's gonna have the same gameplay, which is rock solid the same smooth controls, responsive controls, track design, and said, "Oh, and they're going to add more tracks." And you know what? They said a track editor. I remember reading that in interviews, and Sega said there was going to be a track editor in this, and I thought, man, I'm going to be able to play Daytona USA forever. Can you imagine if we had got the original Daytona USA with a track editor, extra bonus tracks, extra cars, and at this point, I'd played Virtua Fighter 2, and I'd seen the improvement from Virtua Fighter to Virtua Fighter 2, and that's what I was expecting from Daytona to Daytona USA. I'm thinking they're going to blow it out of the water. This game's going to look amazing, arcade perfect, one for one. Who needs the machines anymore? And you get it, and it's okay. Yeah, the graphics are improved, but the car designs have changed. They're not quite the same. The cars are more like inspired by than a direct copy, just improved. And the controls, they did something with the controls. They screwed them up. They weren't the same. Power sliding was off. If you get the import version of this, they went back and tweaked the controls some more to make it more like the original, which definitely helps. But yeah, I remember being so bummed by this. I'd spent every cent I had saved up specifically for this, expecting just the most amazing conversion, and what I got was it didn't really feel like a Daytona or look like a Daytona USA game to me. It's kind of like a spinoff or something. So yeah, that was disappointing. And where they really came in handy was the original PlayStation ones. If you remember, had problems with overheating, and the solution was to turn them upside down or on their sides. And I first experienced this with Toe Ball number 1. I had to I could not play the game actually when I first got it because it was such an intensive CG intro. So I had to put it upside down for the laser to penetrate or to read the CD. So that eventually worked, but it worked less and less over time. And a friend of mine, I don't know how he figured it out, but he said, "Hey, you can bring your PlayStation to Toys R Us." And he said they will give you a PlayStation in return. I said, "But I got it for Christmas. I don't think my parents got it from there." He said, "Doesn't matter. They are taking any PlayStations." So I put my PlayStation in its box, threw in the AV cable, threw in the power cable, and I went up there, and this is they gave me in return. This is I want to say, yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah, Jumping Flash 2. So what they did was they took everything I brought and gave me a new one of it. And I mean everything. Because I did not bring the AV cable, they took the AV, I had my old AV cable. So they took the new one out of the box. But because I had brought my power cable, they opened the system, gave me the new power cable, kept the AV, gave me the PlayStation. I kept my controller, so I didn't bring it. So they took that out. And then they said, "Did you get a demo disc with your system?" But the one they held up was different. I have the original purple one, which is the most amazing demo disc of all time, and I have a whole video on that and a demo tour. And this one had a green cover. I said, "Oh no, I didn't get that." Kind of knowing what they meant, but being very technical about it. I did not specifically get that one. No, I did not. So they gave it to me, and so that's how I still have it today, which was great because I just got a new shot of games to play because it was 6 demos on there I didn't have access to before, which was months of entertainment. And I want to say this must be their box because I had an early PlayStation, and I'm pretty sure they didn't advertise Jumping Flash 2 on the first boxes. Maybe this is my original one. I don't know. But I have the memory of them taking stuff out and setting it to the side and giving me this. So I'm pretty sure this is the new box. But yeah, it was weird because I've never experienced that before. If you have something that's broke, they normally just take the system. But it was whatever you brought, they kept and gave you a brand new one in return. And that was, I'm not sure if Sony set something up with them or what. But man, that was amazing because I thought for sure I was screwed because it broke well after the warranty expired. I want to say my parents got it at Best Buy. They weren't taking returns. And you were basically screwed. You had this console. There's no way I could have bought another one. They weren't going to buy me another one. They were kind of irritated that the thing wasn't working. And Toys R Us stepped in and they either took it upon themselves or they decided to hook up with Sony and handle this really fantastic return system. So that was something I always appreciated for them, because that system I still have today works just fine. So yeah, that was them really coming through, and I always appreciated that. And yeah, I will miss them, and it's unfortunate that it seems like toy stores in general are going away. But I buy a lot of my stuff online too. They just didn't adapt. I remember I did try to buy a game from them, King's Quest for PS4, and it was not a smooth process. And I ended up canceling it because it was just taking a long time. And no other place took so long, so I'm not sure if they just weren't agile enough to adapt to the online marketplace, which is weird because they've had a presence for a very long time, and they've probably filled millions of online orders, but it just seemed a step behind from any other store. I think I ordered from Best Buy the same day, and like it was shipped out the same day. Everything was so much faster. But I guess it's just another one of those examples of a company not keeping up with the time, and it's unfortunate because there is really nothing else like walking into, when you're a kid, you go to a Chuck E. Cheese. The pizza might taste like crap, but the experience is just fantastic, and that's what it was for Toys R Us. And it's a shame kids can't experience that now, but maybe they won't know what they're missing because they can just go to Amazon and look at a page of stuff and just pick out what they want and have it show up at their house, which is also very, very magical. Because as fond as I was of Toys R Us, it was trying to hunt down a game. It's nostalgic for me now, but at the time, it was absolutely infuriating because I just, I had the money, give me the product. So I guess there's always a switch off for everything, but you really can't take away anything from being a kid and walking into that store, though. That's something that's definitely they're going to miss out on. But those are my thoughts on Toys R Us. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to everyone later.